John Skinner is the proprietor of Painted Rock Estate Winery. After being a stockbroker for 25 years, during which time he became an avid wine enthusiast. In 2004, he purchased the land in South Penticton known locally as the Black Hawk. Painted Rock Estate Winery is currently producing ultra-premium wines that reflect the perfect marriage of New World fruit and Old World processes for sale in Canada, as well as export to China and the UK. Please welcome John Skinner.
I'm really happy to have the opportunity. Painted Rock it's a vision that I had born sort of in the late 90s. I'd say probably around 97 when the BC wine industry really started to prove itself. I was a wine collector, I was a stockbroker, I was sick of the business. The brokerage business is a wonderful means to an end, but it was a great place for me to be, to accumulate what's necessary to get into the wine industry, because now I've been at it for, I've been at it for 9 years now, and it's a hefty chore to start a vineyard winery from scratch. What I ended up doing was, I thought in about 2000, I thought I'm going to go up to the Okanagan, I'm going to find a winery that's for sale, and just transition out of the brokerage business and into this glorious new life, and make wine and have somebody sell it for me. And
Can I laugh out loud now?
Oh please! It's so funny because the name's already been taken with another winery, but I am the laughing stock of my folks, because honestly, I've never worked so hard. It is and that gets back to the idea that I'm really happy to be in front of the foodie community, because I never realized the connectivity between trying to make really good wine, trying to get it in front of people who really appreciate it, understand it, and the correlation between that and cuisine. And having been a wine guy, I was mentioning to the chef earlier, I said, now the pairings these are like, when I do a wine dinner, it's like somebody's pairing food with my children. Like these are like, if you understand the journey, it's been so long, it's been so humbling to get from where we started, which was, I alluded earlier to the idea of buying a winery. What I did was I hired a group of consultants, and I looked at everything that was for sale over a period of about 3 years. I kept on thinking, I'm going to find it had to be first and foremost a vineyard that was worthy of a very aggressive mandate, because if it wasn't going to be, I thought the Okanagan was making good wines. I thought there was a lot of room for improvement, and it needed capital and expertise. And I thought, okay, if I can find this diamond in the rough, I'm going to go there. Fast forward X number of years, and the number of wineries that I looked at, everything had, for lack of a better description, hair on it. It had some reason not to do the deal. The vineyards weren't right, the winery was wrong. There was some reason I didn't want to get involved with it. Until one day, I found this property called the Black Hawk, and this is like a religious experience, because I then was very experienced in what you're looking for in a vineyard. The BC government had done a study of all the microclimates in the Okanagan region, and they'd rated them on all the various criteria for producing premium wine grapes. And so I started to know all these specific sites, and when I went through this enormous book, it's about 6 feet across, page after page, the attributes would be defined by a color. So if it was the best, if it rated the best, it would be green. If it was a little worse, it would be yellow, whatever, down a varying scale. It wasn't until I found this one property on Squahaw Lake, and it just stuck out like a bit of a thumb on Squahaw Lake, and I turned page after page and after page, and that one dot was green. And I thought, so therein lies the opportunity. I bought a property that had been fallowed for 17 years. It was a raw prospect. It was, in terms of the opportunity, it was a blank landscape, canvas. In terms of the commitment, it was just staggeringly more complicated, because now what I had to do was, in the next year, I was starting from scratch. So now I had to put together the team, source the clones, source the varieties, do a planning strategy, understand what's going on in the Okanagan. So the first thing I did was I hosted a big dinner for all the wineries that I thought that really attracted me into the industry. I had second tenant from Black Hills there, I had these people were so generous. Poplar Grove, Ian from Poplar Grove, and these guys, and I asked them what's working, what isn't working, and to a person, they were all incredibly generous. You can plant a variety, but you have to know which clone works, because certain clones and certain root stocks you don't and do, and there was a lot of magic in the lessons learned in the 90s when most of these, the guys who were raising the bar, they really started to take it seriously in the 90s after the government had implemented this vinifera program. So I planted in 05. I prepared the site for a year, put together the team, planted in 05. 06, 07 was our first harvest. 08, 09 was our first release. So the leap of faith was staggering because I had no idea that I was going to have up to 20 employees for 6 years before we got a penny back. Remember that thing about accumulating kind of wealth as a broker? Well, hello, 6 years later, you're looking at my wife saying, it's going to be okay, it's going to be okay. Like it was really, really a leap of faith. But so now our third vintage is in the market, and I am in and around the foodie community all the time, and I have such an incredible appreciation for it. I found when we came in, our specific model is we have a 60-acre bench. We've planted 25 acres. The business plan, and that's one thing I get back to that I do have experience in, and that's designing a business plan with focus. And the idea was to aim at the ultra premium model. That's 5,000 cases, never bigger. I don't want to get bigger. I want to get better, and that is bringing in expertise. I've got a consultant that comes in from Bordeaux. Alain Sutra comes 6 times a year. And he educates my staff. He does our blending. He is absolutely, probably, to my mind, the best find on the planet Earth. And the greatest irony is, he found us. When I finally, in that first year, when I finally decided on which clones and varieties, I couldn't get them. All of a sudden, I have this agent, and he's sending out. He's communicating back and forth with these nurseries in Bordeaux, and he said, okay, we want clone 99 and 100 of Syrah, we want this. And they're coming back and they're saying, sure, we'll give you 89 and 90, it's almost as good. And we got that religiously across the board. It was happening time and time again. And I thought, if I'm going to do this once, wouldn't you like just to plant one vineyard and plant the entire thing wrong? Like, I thought these guys are just, I'm the rookie on the block, they're gonna lay me out with these stupid clones. So what I did was I contacted the nursery directly, and I said, I think it's just a matter of money, and so I paid them more, and I got everything that I wanted, and I love Americans, but I was kind of like the ugly American because I just bullied my way into this thing, and I didn't even know it. I thought really he was just holding out for more dough. So what I done was so fast forward to the next year when we're planting. And we just planted, and a gentleman marches across the vineyard, which at the time was just like mud and dust, and it was horrific. And he sticks his hand out, and he said, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Alain Sutra from Bordeaux. And he said, and I said, yeah. He said, I love what you've planted here. Nobody in the Okanagan knows how to blend these clones. And I listened to him for a while. And his next comment, I'd never forget this because he said, and forgive the accent, but I just got to do it. He said, you ruffled some feathers in Bordeaux last year, and I said sorry, and then he explained that there's a hierarchy, there's a pecking order to getting those clones, and you have to be a certain, however you rank in their system, so that the first growths get access to 99 and 100 before the second growths, before the third, before the fourth. So you have to be. You have to wait your turn, and I just didn't wait our turn. Anyway, I'm in Canada, so I hope they forgive us now. But anyway, so we planted what we needed to plant, and Alain is incredibly involved in our journey now. And our journey, very simply, is damn the torpedoes. We want to make wine not to compete against our neighbors, but to compete on a world stage. And we're getting there. We just to do some unsolicited chest pounding. We just got a silver medal at Syrah de Monde, which is that's not one that's not a competition that's gratuitous with giving out a whole lot of silvers and golds and all this kind of stuff. That's really serious, and that gives context. What we're trying to do now is find out, we're really happy with where we are regionally, we're really happy with where we are nationally. But internationally, now I want to see how are we on the scale. So our Syrah just got a silver, and at the Decanter Awards, our Red Icon blend just got a silver. So that shows, and when you go down the list and you see Painted Rock, and after P, there's L, and it's after P, there was Pichon Longueville, like, that's really serious stuff. And to be in the same, even mentioned in the same breath, on the same page at Decanter.
Oh, bravo.
Yeah, and that was, that is really shows that we're on track, and you always need, the industry has a lot of these kind of things, but I pay great attention to them as a barometer, because I'm just in this in a vacuum, and I keep thinking, how are we doing? And we're selling to these restaurants, we're doing these kind of things, but you need some, that's why people go in to see ratings and numbers, and some people are really offended by that. I need to have some sense of comparison, and I read those things too. But so now we're in our third. We've actually got our fifth vintage of the winery. We're hitting our marks. I don't know if I'm overhitting my marks. How are we doing? You got 2 minutes. So anyway, just to kind of give some context in that regard, in our first vintage, to validate it, we won 2 Lieutenant Governor Awards, and it was the first time it had ever happened that somebody in the first vintage won 2. There's 11 in the industry, and that's like the big deal in BC in the industry are those awards. It's per varietal, and it's the Lieutenant Governor Awards of Excellence. So Stephen Point, who is probably the most eloquent, genuine, he's our Lieutenant Governor. This guy is a spectacular speaker, and what a magical representative for British Columbians. Like, he's really a great guy. Stood up and he tells these funny stories at our winery as he's giving us these awards, and then he said, and it's wonderful for me to be here because Painted Rock not only won 1, but they won 2 Lieutenant Governor Awards, and I don't think that'll ever happen again. And he can hear, we've got this on videotape, and he can hear in the crowd. We'll see about that. Well, last week we won 2 again. So Stephen Point is going to be coming. It's his last year. He's actually moving out of the Lieutenant Governor's home now, but he's going to make the presentation on July 26th. And I'm trying to find a video screen with this thing with the audio, because it's just so. Anyway, to me it just means that we're on. We're hitting the marks, and we're getting in front of the people that understand what our vision is, and that's at the end of the day, it's a legacy family business. We don't make compromises, and we're just trying to participate in an exciting young industry and make our contribution to it. So that's kind of the Painted Rock story, and hope you enjoyed the Syrah. That's one of the 2 wines that just won the Lieutenant Governor Award. The other's called our Red Icon blend, and that's our primary focus is the blend. But so cheers.
Thank you.